Welcome to Cannabis School. I'm your host, Jesse Angeles.
And I'm Brandon Elder.
And we're here to talk to you about everything pertaining to cannabis, from vape,
Flower,
edibles,
strains,
and everything in between. Well, hey guys, welcome back. We are super excited to be able to introduce an amazing company, and their background is absolutely killer. They've got such a long story, and we're going to be focusing mainly on a product that they create.
Yeah.
And that's in the HHC world.
Which is really interesting.
Yeah.
Because HHC is a compound that, until we tried these Wendy Janes,
Yeah.
I hadn't actually broken into HHC. Have you?
No. I popped my cherry with this one, definitely. This
Yeah.
was it was really good. So we want to be able to introduce. I want you guys to introduce yourselves, actually. So.
Yeah, I'm asharma, a chemical engineer. Our company's PME by design. We're an engineering consulting service company. We kind of have been in the cannabis space, at least Mark and I have, for about almost 10 years, at least in and out of all the different states where it's legal, illegal, kind of playing all the different spaces. And, we're just kind of trying to push the industry forward with a cleaner, better product and bringing it into a more professional world, which you guys definitely understand needs to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm Mark Jolly. I tell everybody I'm a farm boy from Idaho. I did grow up just south of Pocatello up there in Idaho, and joined the military at a young age and spent my life in engineering and getting an MBA and building factories all over the world. So
Does Idaho know you're out here telling people that you helped with
Pretty
cannabis?
illegal there. I think by proxy they're going to arrest you.
Yeah, well, I haven't applied for the application yet, but I got 700 acres that's aching for it. So
Oh, there you go.
well,
That'd
it
be
is.
so
be
cool.
They finally opened it up for grow up there in Idaho, and they're trying to figure it out
For hemp.
for hemp.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I was
Didn't want to make it.
what?
Yeah, for
Well,
hemp.
Idaho's a little slower behind that, but I mean
Yeah.
I think maybe because of the recent boom of growth there, that would definitely be appealing to them.
Yeah,
Their infrastructure can't handle that.
there's no infrastructure. I mean, and the hemp side of this industry has struggled because so many farmers got into it. The yields were huge, and then a lot of guys didn't know what they were doing, and then it crashed. And you guys have seen it. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Mhm.
many hundreds of millions of dollars wasted on trying to get into something that people didn't understand and they didn't
Yeah.
know, because we, as Americans, we have such a short memory, and we quit studying it in the 60s, and look where it's got us. We're behind the 8 ball as far as science. And
Oh, yeah. Well, because before then it was required, like hemp's been grown anyway. And when we first founded the country, it was required to
forever.
grow hemp.
Yeah.
So it's ridiculous that we are so behind the times with such a base. There's a lot to this plant, let's be
Yes.
honest. But at the same time, it is such simple, basic things that it's, we should know better.
it's an amazing plant on all sides, right?
Yeah.
And we're scratching the surface. Whether you're talking, the good stuff or the hemp stuff, both of it, we're still just scratching the surface. And,
Oh, yeah. Well, how many compounds have we discovered at this point?
It's like 180.
Several hundred. Yeah, not that many. And what got you guys to choose HHC as your compound?
It's very scientific was actually our founding, because we started off with Delta 8. Well, we started off with CBD, and we were both very focused on kind of bringing this industry into a place where it can help people with the opioid crisis and with their pain management. And we all know cannabis is the best for pain management. CBD is not as good as THC, but people don't really want to get high all the time. You want to kind of wake up in the morning, take something, and go to work. And a lot
I
of
don't know
people
about
can't.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, well,
With this guy.
I'm not high.
I'm not
I wake
high
up
either.
and
Right.
I have chronic pain, but for me, I wake up and I puff on a pen. I set up the Zenko. I'm like taking a dab, or I go smoke a bowl,
right.
but then I sit down and work. Like that's
Right.
how I function.
Right, I completely understand that. And that's why we're kind of looking at the other side of the spectrum, where it's kind of soccer moms and people
Yeah.
with like who have to take their kids from daycare.
Everyone
to
else who
daycare and-
doesn't have chronic pain and still
Exactly.
wants to function.
Exactly.
or the people that are scared to death. I mean, when I got into it down in California, these huge facilities, I mean, there were so many people that I knew that had pain but would never walk into a dispensary because they're
Yeah.
scared. They're like, what do I do? What do I buy? What's good? What is
It's
sativa?
so
What,
overwhelming.
yeah. And the education is pathetic. And then, the professionalism of our industry was lacking and probably still is lacking in the science and in the engineering and in the development of taking it to that level where Wendy, the gal that we named this brand after, would actually go in. She would never go into a store, never go into a place because that was just taboo. And now she takes one every day because she sleeps amazing, because she does that. And that and the opioid crisis was a big deal. So many kids' lives got destroyed, and we were on the THC side, right? We've built a lot of THC equipment and facilities for people, and we just said, can we do this better? Can we give people pain relief and maybe give them more of a body high than a head high? And so we started to look at more and more of the science, which he's amazing at. This kid we can make any of them, we can do all of them, but he's really good at making it very, very, very clean. So
I will say that in the flavor in that, I don't taste any
that's one of the
cannabis
things I wanted to say, because
at all.
My wife is she's very judgmental on anything that
Very sensitive with the flavors.
Flavors. I mean, we understand it's plant and plant medicine. There was this one CBD that we took, and it's like super potent, very organic. It's awesome. It's amazing. One of the best CBDs I've ever tried. But it tastes like ass. It's
tastes
bad.
like medicine. It's not a.
And they mix some stuff in there to try and make it taste better, but it just made it worse. And you're like, oh, and it's like waves of awfulness. But this, I tell you, when I ate it, I was like, that's surprisingly really good. And I judge these really hard. Like there's one brand that I really enjoy. They make a really strong THC edible, and they're based out of Oregon. Great company, Wild.
I know them well. Yeah, we actually know their founder,
Christopher Joseph.
Yeah,
and I met him. That's actually kind of how this got started. I was a partner with a podcasting agency, and they're like, we need to get a cannabis podcast. And I reached out to and they're like, yeah, it sounds cool, but it's not really for my brand. And it couldn't be. So we were sitting after a couple of years, and we were like, let's just take this idea that I came up with, and then let's craft it. Let's make it better.
Well, it made more sense for us.
Yeah, but not for them.
A brand.
Right.
Because to go, hey, this is for end user focus. No brand is going to focus on anything fairly.
Well, and you're just talking about yourself the whole
without
time.
it being their brand.
Which
and so
sucks.
it's like,
And that's not education. We need objective kind of truths about this industry, which
not going, this is wonderful. Like, I love their flavors.
Right.
I really do. And I have yet to try and find a flavor that is just as good. And these ones are even better because theirs are, it's made out of fruit pulp, and, the shelf life has got to be really short on those. And they're very tasty, but these ones were so good. My wife had them, and I'll tell you what she had. So she felt it in her back for a while, but she was kind of relaxed and went to sleep. So I'm thinking, it's super mild. Brandon, you ate how many the first time?
2.
But
I also had a lot of other cannabinoids in me.
Right.
And my dose, I honestly wasn't sure if I felt it.
Yeah.
So for me though, my wife and I was last Saturday, and we went shopping. It was date night. We went food shopping because that's what we do with 5 kids. And so we get out there, and I pop this. I'm like, I'm going to see what happens, because I just got done smoking earlier in the day, and I was like, I'm pretty mellowed out. Took a bunch of CBD, and I'm like, I'm going to level this out to base, and I'm going to go out and experience this. And I remember you saying, like, you're going to feel it in the body. I felt it all over my entire body. My head, my toes, and it progressively got stronger, but not in the sense of unmanageable. It was waves of happiness. That's the best way to be able, because I have arthritis in my hands,
Right.
and congratulations from my dad, right? Thanks for passing that gene, but I didn't get any of the pain, and I've got a bad ACL. It's all torn, and meniscus is just junk, and it hurts all the time. I didn't feel that either. after one. And the thing
That's
is,
impressive.
I'm a
'Cause it's
pretty
10
consistent
milligrams.
user.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
I
each one.
use every day, and whether it's flour or concentrate, I use that. And you were saying like, hey, you might need to take 2. So I tell Brandon, hey, you may need to take 5 because
Oh, you're the same way.
Ah,
Okay.
nice.
We actually have a 25 milligram version as well for people like
Yeah.
us with a higher dosage limit.
Yeah. Well, I took 6. I took 3 about an hour before we started recording, and then I took the remaining 3 that were in the package just, at the beginning. So
Yeah, but it's so I love the consistency and the feel. And that's kind of what I really wanted to talk to you guys about is take us through that, because synthetics, we were not very
well, I'm not a big fan of synthetics.
I'm not
to be
either.
honest, because most of it came from our Delta 8 experiences.
Yeah, we got some really
Which,
shitty Delta 8. It
as
wasn't
everyone
good.
knows, is like just degrading or trying to alter the CBD compound and turn it into the Delta 9.
Yeah, it's cannabis light.
And they're getting, to Delta 8. Now,
Well,
isn't
it's part of the
HHC
problem, right? Part of the problem is some of these companies have zero science, right? We really, what we do is build factories. That's really what we've done. That's all I've done all my life. I've built factories in China and Vietnam and Mexico. In Portugal, I spent 4 years, and I build these factories for different products, but it's all science-based. Engineering is very black and white. Chemical engineering is very black and white. This industry has suffered from the lack thereof. And I can't tell you how many factories we go in and we say, where's your engineer? Where's your lead scientist? And
they don't have
the guy's got a high school degree. He's been smoking his whole life. He worked on a distillation column someplace. And we're like, you don't even understand what the temperature range is. You don't understand anything about vacuum. You don't understand anything about purity.
And to be clear, like that's fine in a small lab, but these guys are running like $50 million facilities. Like it's not proportional.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
We went to a huge one
You'd think
over
they
in
would
Florida,
invest
and
more.
I literally was scared because the safety factor of walking through that factory was sketchy.
Are there companies that you can steer us away from in that range?
Well, for me personally, like for my parents, for example, all these alternative cannabinoids, my mom suffers from I guess, insomnia. She has a lot of issues sleeping. And I told her, try some Delta 8, try some HHC. And we weren't producing it at that point. And I honestly told her, why don't you wait until we make it? Because I don't feel comfortable with her going to a gas station and buying something random.
Yeah.
And I don't know about any online company because, as I'm sure you guys know, the COAs are not representative of the stuff you're buying.
No.
It's a batch from 2 years ago. And there's no way it's in the cart. It smells different. It tastes different. It's just madness. And
it's terrible.
I mean, I wouldn't say nobody else is doing it right, but I'm very hesitant about the people I care about to tell them just take it easy, maybe go to a dispensary or let me get something to you.
One of your podcasts, the guy was, I can't remember, maybe it was Chris. One of them, he's like, well, if you smell it and it smells good, or, trust your instincts.
Yeah.
Well, when you take that gummy or that edible and it tastes like ass, something's wrong.
Yeah.
Some scientist or
didn't
lack
formulate
thereof,
it right. Yeah.
didn't know what he was doing, at all. And this industry is completely packed full of them. Some of them are awesome companies, and a couple here in Utah are absolutely amazing. And they're, but we need to go to CGMP. We need to have standards and requirements and very high bar if we ever want to see this go to the next level.
Well, it's how you get consumer level quality.
Right.
And actually make sure that your products are good for your consumer versus just going, hey, we're people who have used cannabis our whole life and I've made an edible and I got my friends high. And so let's I can do this.
And it's really a huge safety concern. I'm sure you guys remember the vitamin E acid data that came out in California. And there's going to be another one because
we still have signs here all over. And it'll say they're all over the stores. You'll see them on the doors as you go in. It'll be vaping unregulated THC is bad for your health.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because of that vitamin E stuff that they had in it. And it was how many of those or heavy metals or other things are you finding across that? Because there isn't the standard regulation. There's not this across the board level of quality that we have.
And a lot of the guys jump into the industry, both sides, right? And say, well, it's a good business opportunity, so we're going to throw money at it. We've seen factories that were $150 million. They couldn't produce a dang thing. So they call us and say, come help us. we go look at it and we're like, where's your science? Where's your, you know, you show us and nothing.
They don't
and
have recipes. They don't have formulas.
These are
Yeah.
big companies here in the U.S.
We
that
see it all
build
the
crap
time.
product.
It's because people come in and they think, well, cannabis is a money market.
Mhm.
You just have to have the money and make it, and you'll make tons of money. But yet you go into it and it's like, okay, but you don't realize how much science goes into it. I invested in a grow and brought Jesse in to be the CEO because the founder was,
He didn't know. I mean, it
he
goes
didn't
into
know what
say
he didn't know.
most of these cannabis companies, from what I've understood, because before I had that kind of illusion that the cannabis industry was so regulated, because from when I was growing up, it was
Yeah.
like, hey, I got a guy who's got a contact,
Yeah.
to when it starts becoming more mainstream and he picked me up a pen and I'm thinking like, cool. I mean, I had not used cannabis for like 10 years before he brought it back into my life. And I'm like, okay, well, this must be super regulated. This is cool. It's in an actual device.
Yeah.
This looks cool. This is neat. And what I find out,
Stickers and labels.
right?
I mean,
you
it
know,
came from a pharmacist, like an actual
yeah,
dispensary.
it came a dispensary. But even
there's
then,
still the level of qualities that you see across there.
well, if you take it from there and it goes to where it's being run by individuals who have no idea how to run a business,
Right.
and so
Or
it's
business people who know absolutely nothing about cannabis.
Exactly.
Or
Or
manufacturing.
Yeah.
Right.
And really, a lot of the issue comes in the lack of regulations is an issue on manufacturing, but the testing is also kind of atrocious. You
Yeah.
can't
Yeah.
trust COAs. I worked in a lab
Or the
for a little
testing
while.
companies that
I mean,
provide
they
it.
they
Like,
lie.
yeah.
It's terrible. We had
And so
people
they're
come
like-
to us and say, change the numbers for us.
Yeah.
It's ludicrous.
And they're like, hey, or we'll just send it out to another one because we
Yeah.
know they'll test it and get. And you're
They'll
like,
test it for what they want, right?
Yeah.
And then the cannabis, we call it the cannabis tax. We laugh at all the time.
yeah.
I mean, the plant that just evaporated over in Oregon, $150 million, right? And you see these guys go down to Vegas to the show and they walk in and they just start buying equipment. Oh, we'll take one of those and one of those. They have no idea what they're buying.
How
They
do you
go
use
spend
it?
150.
What to do.
We've built, I don't know, 3 or 4 facilities that could outproduce that facility, $150 million facility, produce less than 2,000 kilos a month. We can do 3,000 kilos a month for less than $5 million.
That's because you know what you're
Because
doing.
we understand that this column is used in the pharmaceutical industry. And if you buy it over here in the pharmaceutical industry, it works better. It's the exact same thing, but it doesn't come with that cannabis tax of 3 times the amount of money.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these equipment guys are just, oh my gosh, it's multifaceted, right? We have people that don't understand these machines. They look at them and go, so the synthetics where we started, you saying you kind of got a bad rep. Of course you do, because the synthetic is based on the base ingredient. If I
Yeah.
can't get good CBD, how can I make anything good out of it?
It's
You know,
true.
if the plant sucks and it smells like dog, it's going to suck on the other end.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
Well,
so
and there's a massive difference even in quality of grows here that I've seen just on hemp. It
Oh my
makes a
gosh.
huge difference. And you're like, okay, down to soil and everything else that they're doing. And you can see a massive difference in the end crop.
And then
Yeah.
you kind of look at it like I look at, and there are going to be people who are listening to this. They're going to go like, dude, you're shitting on my industry. And I totally am, because the cannabis industry resembles a lot of the solar industry. They think
They
it's
are
just,
all Vivint bros?
well, I mean, not by that, meaning that they're taking advantage of a system to be able to produce money for themselves, but not by being able to produce a high quality product.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when they're putting it out there with the misconception that it's going to be better, it's going to be healthier, it's going to be more in line with you, with your moral standards when we're talking about any synthetics compared to a THC, because that's where there's a gray area for those
Oh,
who
yeah.
are hyper religious or whatever it may be. They're like, hey, no, I can't take that. I can't smoke the devil's lettuce. Cool. How about this gummy?
Yep.
What does it do? It helps with pain. Okay. Because
Yeah.
it's
Why do you think that we went that direction?
Exactly.
Because
Yeah.
it is, and we love this industry. Okay. We love it on all aspects. We also hate it because we need more engineers and scientists.
yeah.
We need
Yeah.
more education and we need higher standards. If you build great products, it'll come. And we do a lot of building for other people because we're not a big company, but we end up helping all the big companies. We fly all over the place to go solve these problems because we want the industry to be picked
Yeah.
up.
Well, we want them to be consistent because there's not enough consistent cannabis brands that are out there that you can say is a brand.
Right.
It's not even the different brands, but within the brand itself. A lot of
Exactly.
these companies, you can't go and buy the same gummy 2 months later and get the same effect from
Nope.
it. And that's a problem when you're using it for medicine. Like
Yeah.
you expect to take 2 multivitamins a day, not one and a half one day. and
Well,
carry
how
that
often
another
has
day.
aspirin changed their formula?
Right, exactly.
Like if you're going to it for a medication, why the fuck is the formula changing? Keep
Yeah.
your same formula.
You know, the molecule is the molecule.
Yeah,
right?
change it to another one if you're like, cool, well, this one's for this. Okay, cool, keep this formula for this. Find a different formula for something else and go for that,
And it is very nuanced with cannabis, as you guys know, because of the terpenes and the entourage effect.
Yeah.
It's almost
yeah.
impossible to replicate it, but that's kind of why we took the step back. And rather than saying, let's make a great cannabis product that we can use to help people, we are going to take a compound, which we know works like Advil, like ibuprofen, and put that in a delivery mechanism that people are comfortable using. So we found the best compound. Really, it's not HHC. It's one of the compounds that the Israeli university that studies built.
So take us
It's a
through
quinone.
that. Like, take
Yeah.
us through your compound. How do you guys, what is HHC? So let's educate our audience on that one. What is HHC? And take us through the compound of why you felt that you guys have been able to create something that's quite remarkable.
Yeah, absolutely. So HHC is hexahydrocannabinol. It's just another cannabinoid like delta 8, delta 9, delta 10, all the ones you guys have heard about. It's made from CBD, so it's one of these semi-synthetic or synthetic cannabinoids like delta 8, but it's kind of further down the process line. So from a production standpoint, you isomerize CBD to turn it into delta 8, and then you hydrogenate delta 8 to turn it into HHC. So it's a similar process that they do, and it's actually how you make margarine. It's a part of the process for making diesel. It's very common chemical processing, but getting it to that high purity and high scale, of course, takes a lot of kind of meticulous R&D, process design, equipment design, and that's what we focused on in the past year. So we knew the compound exists, right? This was isolated in the 70s.
Yeah.
It's nothing magical here,
No.
but getting it out of the plant, out of super high purity, where we wouldn't say it's pharma grade, but it's almost at the level where you can trust it to be exactly that compound and nothing else. It's 99% HHC that we put in there. Getting it to that level and getting that kind of confidence just took a lot of R&D. So we have an in-house lab, we have kind of our own HPLC, benchtop systems, and I've done a lot of academic research in the past, so I feel super comfortable just kind of diving in and figuring that out. And then once we got to the point where we got our 99%, figured out our formula, did all of the testing, we went to an NMR lab and identified all the compounds we didn't know, figured out getting all the heavy metals out. It was very, very methodological to be sure the final product is pure and safe. And then I turned to Mark and kind of say, hey, we got to scale this up. We got to start producing keys instead of grams. And we kind of brainstormed together and got to a point where we took this to market and we just gave it to friends and families and said, we think this compound is great for pain management and you won't get high. And so that's really because my parents are afraid of cannabis. They don't want that high. They've always grown up. They told me in high school when they caught me smoking pot, like, you're going to drop out, you're going to do this and that. And that's just the way they grew up. But they'll take these gummies because they know it's not going to get them that high. That was our goal.
My dad's a high school principal from the 80s. Ronald Reagan, say no to drugs.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is Mr. Anti-Drug his entire life. 3 fused vertebrae in his back.
Oof.
Takes a half of one twice a day and lives his life. And we have had hundreds of people say, man, I got a bad hip and I can do it. I can live, or I can take it and go to bed and sleep. But it's kind of the combination of both of us that make it magic. And it's not just our product. Like every factory we go in, we try to automate it so that you can eliminate that human factor. I mean, we really want to build a CBD facility from end to end that no one's done yet, because we need consistent CBD to take it to the next level. We need great isolate, phenomenal, and it can't be made in a batch, can't be made in, half of these scary places. And some of them are amazing places, and some of them here in Utah are amazing places, but the industry needs a new standard, and it needs a CGMP facility from end to end for Delta 9, for every single one of these. We need to take it to the next level. And and we'll do it. Somebody will come to us and say, hey, we want to be the big isolation guys. There's such a void in the market. I mean, we probably know 5 guys right now that would buy 3,000 to 5,000 kilos a month if the facility existed.
Yeah.
Everyone's scrambling.
We were looking forward to the one in Oregon being that facility, and we bought a lot of product from them, and some of it was great, some of it was crap because the inconsistency
Of the starting
of
quality product.
people, right?
Yeah.
Well, because they didn't automate their systems.
Well,
So
it sounds like they
everything's
don't have,
inconsistent and different. So you
well, they
don't
have
the
no
same-
standard operating procedures.
Well, even
Yeah.
if
That's-
they do,
that's
in the
That's
pharma
the
industry,
lowest level requirement, and a lot of them don't have that.
No, I
But
mean,
in
just
the
like you're-
pharma, yeah.
Well,
here's the
even
thing.
if they do, right? Like Advil isn't made in a continuous process. It's made in batches, and that's totally fine. You can make super high quality stuff in batches, but you need meticulous pharma level controls if you're doing that. You need QA
Oh, yeah.
and QC that's unparalleled. And that's of course not evident in the
We don't
cannabis
have that,
industry.
yeah.
If you apply that, great, do batches, but there's other ways to do it, like what the nutraceuticals do, what the
Right.
smaller people do. That's totally fine. You can do it this way and not be that anal about it and still be safe, still be continuous, still be consistent. And that's the most important thing. And
We
kind of going back to what you were saying, that is why we chose HHC, because it's not magic. We saw people doing D8. We kind of looked at each other and said, this is, we bought 2 keys and one's clear, one's not. Like, this is crazy. We can fix this problem very easily between the two of us. But we're engineers. We're not salespeople. So we're not going to go out and say, hey, buy our D8. We'll say, we'll make sure your D8 is safe. We'll make sure your consumers get stuff they can trust, and it'll be the same thing each time.
Well, it's exactly what you're talking about before, because I mean, when we're thinking about the individuals, their R&D is, hey, I made this shit in my garage.
Mhm.
What do you guys think?
Oh, yeah.
Got me pretty high. Get you high? And we're going past that. Like, I haven't been high in years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a lie. I got high a couple days ago.
You lucky
But-
bastard. Thanks for upping it in.
But the thing is that typically when I use cannabis, it's not to get high, it's to elevate either pain relief or creativity,
Right.
right? Those are the things that I use it for. So I'm like, okay, I know exactly what I use my cannabis for. So I'm not getting to that point where I'm so far gone, like I've just done a ton of dab. No offense.
Oh, none.
He's a big
None
dab
taken.
guy. But, I mean, I
I
just...
don't get so far gone.
Yeah,
so,
you don't.
yeah.
I mean, because you have such extremely high tolerance.
It's
But
bad.
it's even for me, like, for years of using cannabis. And now, like, I mean, I took one of these and I felt really good. And it just continued. It went for such a long time. I would say around
It is
8
long.
hours.
Yeah.
Well,
we
awesome.
get some good time
That's the
out of
thing
it.
I've read is that HHC can last for up to 12 hours on the experience.
And yes, it can. And one of the better features that I really enjoy is the shelf life. We can get 3 to 5 years.
So
of shelf
HHC,
life.
On your
Delta
gummies?
9, Delta 9 itself is super unstable.
Yeah.
We made 98%
Oh, yeah.
Delta 9. You pull it out of the oven and it turns purple. It just oxidizes instantly. But the process, that's why margarine has such a great shelf life. That hydrogenation process is the chemical process that gives things a better shelf life. And so the HHC, the gummies, everything in there, it stays as HHC. It's not like a bud of weed where if you leave it out for 4 years, you come back,
deep-
it's all CBN.
Yeah.
That won't happen here.
Well, that's what I read is how HHC naturally occurs is in the oxidation from THC over to
Mhm.
CBN is that you will find HHC, but obviously
yeah,
like,
very tiny
yeah.
amounts.
Yeah.
So that's really cool though.
And D9, THC, you see it all the time. You go into the store and you got some beautiful colors, and then you got these dark ones, and then you got some skinky ones, and it's
Yeah.
like, I mean, it's a science problem and a manufacturing issue, but it's also wants to degrade, right? It wants to
Yeah.
just kind of naturally. So this one, and yeah.
Hey,
it's
Have you
not
guys
special.
vaporized or like done HHC as a?
I have. It doesn't hit quite as hard with vaporizing. I found it's almost gone within 30 minutes from what I've seen.
The
It was-
experience.
yeah, it was really surprising.
Wow.
Yeah, and I don't like the taste personally, so we don't put any terpenes or anything in there. It's just pure cannabinoids.
I was gonna say you don't even taste any of
Nothing.
that. So
We
Um,
can. I mean, we've done all of these.
if you
right?
taste it
So-
raw, does it have a flavor profile then? Is it just the
It does. I mean, honestly, I would say it tastes kind of chemically in a sense because I've had pure Delta 8, pure Delta 9, pure
Yeah.
CBD. I'd say it's closest to CBD. CBD, when I've vaped it before, it just almost tastes like plastic. Like it doesn't
Yeah,
taste
it's
very good to me.
weird?
And this is closer to that than the sweet taste that you get from Delta 8 or Delta 9.
Okay. Huh.
But if
30
somebody,
minutes.
if
That's
somebody
cool.
wanted to add terps, it's,
it's
obviously
super
you
easy.
can. It's-
Does Wow, I might. So, does it change to, obviously when you take normal THC, it changes to delta or 11 hydroxy. Does HHC change to obviously maybe a different compound as well when digested
There's
versus
no
inhaled?
actual science around it right now, but it does seem like it does change to just follow the same metabolic pathway as Delta 9 does, but the
Okay.
rate of metabolism is different.
Is it also like a 5 times stronger potency when it's digested through your like?
I mean, I'm an
Versus-
engineer, right? So I'll never
Yeah.
come out and say I know what
Not
this is. I know
specific, but is there like guesstimated of what they're
There's
hypothesizing
honestly
for it?
not enough science around HHC to know, and that's a
Okay.
big part of the problem here. Because I can tell you what I've seen, what our people have told us, what they've done.
Yeah.
But in the end, it's all anecdotal.
Yeah,
we
and that's the
hate
issue.
that
From
when somebody
experience.
says, "Oh, it's great because I tried it." Okay, where's your
Yeah.
science? You know,
But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the
Let's-
consistency.
Well, everyone-
give me
Everyone's
$5 million
endocannabinoid
bucks.
system's
We'll do a
different.
blind.
Yeah,
We'll do a
exactly.
double blind study. We'll tell you exactly what it does. I mean,
Yeah,
we
and
would.
we want to.
We
That's our
want
goal.
to.
Yeah.
I mean, we love the Israelis because they've studied it so much, and
Oh yeah.
we've
Well,
got a great friend over there that's amazing. And whenever we run into a bind, we call him and say, "Man, what is going on?" And he's like, "Oh, I learned that in the '70s." And
I know.
of course, he's got a double
I love how much
PhD
research they have on it. It's amazing.
it is. And
Israel
it's sad
has-
that we're so far behind, right?
Well, we are, but we're not. We funded a lot of it since '98.
Yeah, just not
Yeah.
stateside.
Yeah. So it's like, so it's still, we still have the data. We're just too dumb to read it.
Yep.
Like, I don't know.
Well, I mean, it's that, and then I mean, you got China over there with Wuhan, so we funded both of them.
Okay. Well, China can read, so.
That's a rabbit hole we don't. But
No, but yeah, it really does come down to that. What is your consistency? What's your science?
And a big part of this, you'll notice it's 10 milligrams, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
You won't find another 10 milligram HHC product on the market. The lowest we found is 25 milligrams. And that's because from what, I mean, I've done a blind test myself. We haven't, done it officially or anything,
Yeah.
but these gummies for me were more potent than the other brand's 25 milligrams. And from what I understand, that's just because we don't put any adulterants in there. It's 100% HHC, no other cannabinoids, no terpenes, nothing. And a lot of these other companies, they go out and outsource their HHC production, just bring in something, read a COA, and as you know,
It's white labeled.
who knows what's in there? It's all white labeled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is, we control everything.
you've got to
except
have
for the
quality.
CBD.
You got to have quality start.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's you got to have a good plant. It's no different than the D9 or a THC. You've got to have quality from the very beginner. You got to have a grower that knows what the heck he's doing,
Yeah.
and we got to work up the chain. And not a lot of companies, a lot of companies tout that they're great at it, but where's your science? Where's the people? Show us. But I mean, the industry is just so nascent still, right? We've still got a long ways to go, and it's exciting in that realm.
Yeah, and the other side is it's looking at that's why when we talk to people, like we get local people around here, and I've got family, and they're like, "Hey, you want to try this?" I'm like, "Yeah, what is it?"
Yeah,
And they go, "I don't know. I got it from a friend. Then I'm not touching it."
yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, come on." And I'm like, "Dude, I treat this more bougie than I would for chocolate or food because you don't know what you don't know about it, and that's a big problem." And where we're talking where Brandon invested into it, and I came on as CEO, you got this. I mean, he's a country bumpkin potato farmer.
Yeah, he's like, oh, we've been potato farmers
Oh,
for me
yeah.
and my dad. We've
I know
done
how
it
to
for-"
grow everything.
Yeah.
I can do it all. And then he's just like, okay. And then I'm like, well,
But he didn't even grow it. He had a grower come in to grow it,
yeah. And that grow didn't. And I went
who
through.
was one of the Hell's Angels.
Yeah. He knew
We've
him.
heard this story before.
Right.
Yeah.
There was no consistency. Nobody knew what was going on. And especially when I started asking, because I came from the supply chain logistics world at that time. And I was just like, okay, cool. What's your cost per plant? How much water are you using? What's your electricity over there? What's in the soil? Are you testing everything? And he's like, yep. I'm like, cool. Can you send me that?
Yeah.
I need to see that to be able to understand that so we can look at profitability margins over here. And he's like, well, don't worry about it. We got it all under control.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out. And
Yeah.
the more I started digging, the more I understood that he didn't know what he was doing. It was literally like how you would see construction guys picking up Hispanic dudes over there at a Lowe's or a Home Depot at 5:00 in the morning saying, do you guys want work? Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same thing what they're doing.
There's
They're
more research I did, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what about this? What are we doing at this? What's these levels tested at? Are we testing this?
yeah.
What's this done? Just like, well, we'll find out. And the guy would just be like, "Oh,
He danced around it.
I'll get
Yeah.
that." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Cool, no, we need to know this.
Plants are growing.
How are we supposed to gauge this and gauge like all of this if we can't track this, that?" Like,
Well, it
It's a
turned out
business.
yeah,
to
There
be in
are
the
guys that are doing great. I mean, Oregon,
Totally.
Washington, or some of these grows are phenomenal, and they do the science. But
there's just not enough regulation for
it's
these newer companies
not
coming
enough
out
regulation.
yeah,
because they're thinking that I can just make quick cash.
And that goes back to what you were saying, those signs that say smoking unregulated THC is bad for your health. I would love to smoke regulated THC, but where the hell is it?
yeah, exactly. Who the hell's making these
Well,
regulations, and where's your bar?
Yeah.
Because stop setting it so fucking low.
Yeah.
Obviously,
And that is a problem for us because this one is not legal in Utah, right?
I noticed
Because
that.
you have 11 states that have said they don't understand it. They don't know how to tax it because it's on the hemp side. So
Well, and
It's
Utah's pretty
illegal.
bad on the taxation side. They need to pull their head out. They don't understand it enough, and they need to bring in other states that have been able to conquer that one. Because I mean, it's a great way to be able to subsidize the government, right? A great way. I mean, look at Colorado.
oh yeah,
Amazing things that they did. And they don't even have really great weed. It's
fine.
okay.
It's
Yeah.
fine.
I
It's
think
okay. There's some good ones in
Oregon's-
there.
I think Oregon's done it the best, especially with HHC. And all these cannabinoids, they created a whole new kind of column. So they have recreational and medical cannabis, they have hemp products, and then they have adult use cannabinoids now. They
Wow.
just did this past year, and they're making a
Interesting.
whole board for it, a whole regulating agency, and that way now they can tax it. It's not a cannabis product. It's not a hemp product.
It's an adult regulated use
Exactly,
product.
and the
like
idea is to get it
alcohol.
away from children, but because children might need CBD, and that's available
Yeah.
for some children, but these other ones, hemp derived, can't be.
right.
Yeah.
That makes sense. You could have cannabinoid profiles that are designed specifically for children with
Mhm.
specific ailments or needs that aren't. I mean,
That's
and maybe
the
there,
future, right?
yeah, maybe
It's
there
amazing.
are, and that's what I'm hoping for. Like I've talked about with Jesse for years, is like the future of cannabis should be, okay, let's look at your endocannabinoid profile. You have deficiencies here, here, here. Okay, cool. Well, these cannabinoids and terpene profiles will help with this. So we can build you a gummy, a strain, a tincture, whatever, that's crafted and designed for your ailments, your endocannabinoids.
That sounds like some Star
specifically.
Trek shit.
Yeah.
It does, but
So
like that's
doesn't-
what it
Body
should
scanner.
be. Like, yeah.
But I mean, it really is, and that's talking about what you just said, Mark. They're just so behind the times, and the only reason why is because they don't treat it seriously. Honestly,
Yeah.
the government doesn't treat it as serious as they should be, and I mean, we could say it's big pharma trying to suppress. It is in some sense, but it's more on the side of, well, the consumers aren't educated enough, because if a consumer is more empowered, they have the actual science, but it's been put into layman's terms and it understands towards their day-to-day interaction. If you did a double-blind study of taking an Advil as opposed to a cannabinoid, and it took care of that pain and that problem, like I rarely will use ibuprofen.
Mhm.
Rarely now, and I won't take pain. I haven't touched an opioid, and I was during that time. I had shoulder surgery, knee surgery, and my doc was giving me lower tab 10s filled for 30 of them every
Hmm.
Friday.
Wow.
Like
Jesus.
the doctor's office saying, "Hey, you've got a whole script," and I had a shoebox full of them,
Yeah.
and I just couldn't. After a little while, I couldn't take them. Then fast forward a bunch of years later, I get tooth reconstructed. I broke off a piece of my tooth. And they're like, "Yeah, come on in. They're like, you want the gas?" I'm like, "No, thank you."
yeah.
Yep.
They're like, "Why not?" And I'm like, "Cause I just smoked a joint out in the driveway, and I'm feeling pretty good here." And I was like, "Let's do this." And he's like, "You're gonna feel pain." I'm like, "Do you understand cannabis?" He goes, "No." And I'm like, "Take it easy.
That's
Go
when
ahead."
you
Yeah.
smoke another joint.
Yeah, dude. Seriously. It's like, "Oh, hold on. It's gonna be painful. No problem. I'll just
Yeah.
get that." But it really did. It took care of the pain. I didn't feel anything, and even after, like I went towards a tincture after that one, just because you don't want to inhale, suck in, or anything like
Right.
that when you have certain type of dental work. But still, no pain.
Mhm.
And that dentist was absolutely shocked. He's like, "So it took care of all that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't need to take all these other things that are going to constipate me or
Oh,
put
yeah.
tons of chemicals." Like,
My grandma, who's had those chronic migraines,
Yeah, you were
came
telling me
on,
about
she
that.
got onto fentanyl before we got her off, and I started making her edibles because, unfortunately, it was like, yeah, you can't get anything legally here, and you're not going to go out, and I don't know what you're going to find, and I don't know if you're going to find it good quality or dosing or anything. So I dosed her for a year and a half.
Yep.
Did all of it my own because I'm like, no, I need to make sure that you're taken care of. And then finally, so she hadn't used it for maybe a year and a half, hadn't touched any cannabis because it went away. And she just started getting those again. And she just used this, that one super delicious flavor,
Which one?
CBD, the one that's,
Ooh, yeah, that stuff is rough, but
Yeah,
it's so good.
but I gave her the capsules. So she
Oh,
doesn't taste
She
it.
didn't taste it.
Mhm.
But she just took one of those, and one of those in a day would make it go away.
And one point that we should say is we don't just limit ourselves to. In our company, we only make HHC. We build complete systems for D9 and for T8 because we want to help those guys be consistent too. You know, so if
You're
there's
raising the bar.
companies out there struggling on their extraction system or how to make, get it clean and get it consistent, we love to help those guys.
You know,
We don't do it for free, but we love to help them because
Well,
we
of
want
course.
to raise the whole industry up.
We're trying to build a better industry.
If everybody gets consistent, then it can be, you know what you're buying. You know the difference between ibuprofen and Tylenol. You know the difference between, material grown in Oregon and material grown in Colorado, and it's consistent all the time. We
Mhm.
need consistency. We need automation. I would love to have 20 great chemical engineers with nothing to do because I could stick them in plants right now, right? Get educated engineers in there helping the guys like you that learned it on your own. You know it well enough that you sit down with us, we could build you an automated line that you dump it in one end and out the other end comes a perfect product every time.
Oh, yeah.
We need that
100%.
across the
Yeah.
industry. We're doing it with HHC, but we need it across the industry. So, those guys that need help, we will help them. We'll
we'll
always
put that
available.
information down below. Any way we can be able to get
Yeah.
in contact with you guys to be able to help out, because we have a lot of cannabis brands that listen to us,
We'll put it
not
in the
just
show notes.
here in the States, but all over the world. So we know that is something that is definitely needed, and more so for the consumer side, because it's exactly, once you become more educated in cannabis, you start becoming a little bit more bougie about it, right?
Yeah.
It's not buying the box wine
Right.
on the end cap. It's, I want to
yeah.
know exactly what am I buying, whose feet smashed this, and how good is this going to taste, right? That's the way that cannabis needs to be seen as, and we get shit. I get shit from my family like, oh, you're a cannabis snob. Yes, I am,
Yeah.
because I want to know what I'm consuming. I want to know what I'm feeling, and that goes twofold. I mean, especially when we're talking about that, where we got our audience listening. We'll put down in the show notes how to be able to get this Wendy Jane and what it could be for a definite, just a change.
I will say, so far, it's been...
How many have you had?
6.
Okay.
Um,
Today.
Yes,
Okay.
this morning.
Roger that.
So I would say I feel really clear-headed. Like, this has been...
Do you feel
probably-
your body?
Yeah, but I have a lot of chronic pain. I still feel my body, but it is more relaxed. And the sharpness in it isn't quite there. But it's still only a little bit in. I would wager, give it another hour, and it might be a little bit less pain.
Your tolerance is so high,
It
you're
is.
probably like people with low tolerance get it in 15, 20 minutes. You're probably more an hour.
Oh, yeah.
plus.
100%.
And then you're going
I
to be
felt
blown
it.
away on how long that lasts. You'll be amazed that you'll be going, oh my gosh, this is, it's 3:00 in the afternoon. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
that's
and see, I
very-
always gauge for me, like a product is how often I feel like I need to use it. How often do I feel like I need to go back? Like if I use a pen, if I'm puffing on a cart, God, it's every 30, 40 minutes. I feel like I'm taking a hit on my pen.
Because those are candy.
Well, and I don't actually get into a lot of the actual stuff because it's not enough for that.
I also thought about it, because there are instances where people have those anxiety-inducing moments where they took too much cannabis, or they were stupid and ate a whole brownie
Yeah.
from their buddy that was like 200, 300 milligrams, right? Or that guy who ate a whole nerd rope.
Yeah.
And you're like, what the fuck is wrong with you? But this would be a really great way. Say you've gone through a decent long tea break and you want to ease back into cannabis, and you don't want to jump right into going like, what's the percentage on that cart? Like 87, 92?
Yeah.
Cool, I'll smoke that and go right back into panic mode. Like, this is a great alternative to being able to slowly get back into cannabis. I would say this is a great, almost like I always use that term. It's almost like a prophylactic of being able to protect yourself while you're going back into it to be able to allow your system to accept more cannabinoids on a very, very low level and then get back up to your peak. I mean, if Brandon never did a tea break,
I have for like 24, 48 hours. It's
now,
been
and
rough.
I've done
ran out.
30 days.
No,
and
I've never run out.
That's hard.
So Wendy went to, I think you guys had Brooke on one of your
Yeah.
Brooke
podcasts.
Westlake, yeah.
Yeah.
Wendy went to one of her things down in Vegas, and Wendy never knew the marijuana nickname was Mary Jane.
Oh,
And
that's funny.
so we just started laughing our butts off, and then we're like, well, let's try Wendy Jane, a little better alternative
Yeah.
for these people that just, or HHC is amazing at helping you come off
Yeah,
and take a break.
it kind of is on the other side of what you're saying, rather than when you're going back into it. From what I've seen, one of my good friends from college, we just dab all the time. He was always kind of just floating around, and then he kind of hit the real world, and you got to stop doing that. Basically, you got to have a job. He has a girlfriend, getting a wife soon, and now he kind of is weaning off. But there's all those withdrawal symptoms where you have crazy nights of sleep. You're not hungry anymore. You're sleeping at odd hours. It's all these terrible things. These gummies help a lot with that kind of stuff, because you still get the
Very
endocannabinoid
cool.
kind of intake, but you're not getting
Wouldn't
the high.
Help
and
with
you can
the
live your life.
stress and everything else.
Yeah.
So, obviously with like THC and that, in really small doses, it can help with anxiety and stuff like that. Is this something that you have seen even anecdotally, that people get anxiety in higher doses at all?
I haven't seen it. We haven't
No,
we
not
haven't
at
had
all.
that as feedback, and we've had people like a lady at the show. She took one or two and didn't know it, so she ate the whole bag. Right, and
Yeah.
it still wasn't
That was
extreme.
the classic. Had
It
one,
was
didn't
like-
feel it. Guess I need more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dosing's a big deal to us, and we want to see
Mhm.
better dosing across the board.
Yeah, we
across the
talk about that all the time. Dose, you got to
But
dose
that's
it
the
out.
other thing, is it's incredibly hard to find a dose because everyone's tolerance is different.
Everybody's
like,
tolerant
Yeah,
to
your
I feel like
endocannabinoid system
there
is
needs
different.
to be a better starting dose
Mhm.
for most products, because I feel like that 10 milligrams is not a good starting
Yeah,
dose.
we're thinking about making a 5
Like-
milligram gummy.
This might be, but as far as like THC, where people
10
get anxious
times,
and that,
yeah.
and you're like, okay, so they've never taken a cannabinoid, and 10 milligrams is your starting dose.
Yeah,
But there is no.
it gives them a bad experience.
Yeah, and then
right?
they're like,
they don't
"Oh,
wanna come back.
This is terrible. This is a scary drug. I don't want." And you're like, it's dosing. You're not going to take the whole bottle of Advil. It's
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
Like,
I think
So-
that it's because that market's very niche, right? Most of the people that go to dispensaries have been smoking, and now it's finally legal, so they're going to continue smoking.
yeah,
It's not people that are starting to consider getting into it, trying to find some info and details. And most of those people, the only reason they would do it is if their buddy hands them a pen. They're
Yeah.
not going to go to the dispensary for the first time they ever want to try weed.
Yeah.
no, they're afraid to, because
Yeah.
it's overwhelming and you have no idea.
Yeah, and
So
this is our target market. In reality, is the soccer mom, right? The one that just got 5 kids running around going crazy and
Yeah.
just needs to take a little edge off.
Yeah.
Needs
But
to
be
be able to
present.
go shopping without going crazy, or
Yeah.
running around. It is an amazing. He has made an amazing product in and of itself. Not to brag about it, but
No, Brad.
That's
it
good.
is.
Yeah.
It is
That's
a great
cool.
one.
Toot your horn.
Yeah, you definitely should, because if you're going to be able to put into this on the very scientific level to have a consistency on it, absolutely it should be bragged about, because in a world where we are all consuming unregulated and very inconsistent, because we've tried so many different types of carts and flour, and it's always just all over the board. And so the legality side, where is this not legal?
So state by state, some states are regulating Delta 8. Very few states are regulating HHC.
Okay,
because
good.
It's not very big out there.
Yeah.
But the way that they're regulating Delta 8 is by creating a classification of regulations, basically. They're either lumping it with cannabis, or they're saying it's not a hemp product, it's not a cannabis product, you can't do it. And that's what they're saying for Delta 8. But because HHC is kind of in the same category, the assumption is HHC falls under that too. And so,
But is it an assumption right now, or is it actually like
it's
under
not
law?
written in law.
Okay.
Okay,
So
good.
the federal law is that it's compliant. It's a
Okay.
hemp product. The 2018 Farm Bill very clearly states any cannabis sativa less than 0.3% THC is considered hemp. Very
Okay.
clearly. And
Awesome.
So But you're still not allowed to sell it
we
in
don't
like
get it.
10, 11
Yeah.
states, I think I saw
And
on
so,
your
so
site.
those states have regulated the Delta 8 side of it. Utah is actually one of the only ones that, if you go on the cannabis board, it lists HHC. It says it on there. But most of
Okay.
them are basically just saying these synthetic or semi-synthetic cannabinoids are a no-go.
Maybe we can put down in the show notes like all the states that we know
We
that
will.
those
Yeah,
are illegal in right now.
It's on their site. I'll just pull it and we'll throw it in the show
Yeah.
notes.
If you
It's
order
badass.
it from that state, it's going to say, sorry, we can't ship to
Okay.
that
Yeah.
state.
And
But
it is really tough for the consumer because you can Google, is HHC legal in my state? And you'll get different answers from different websites.
Well, and there's other brands out there.
Makes
There's
sense.
one brand in particular, and I don't think I'll drop their name because I literally can't remember it right now, but they advertise a ton on there. And the way that I don't like about it is the way they talk about gummies.
I don't know the name, but I know who you're talking
You know
about.
who I'm talking
Yeah.
about. And they'll say, oh, is smoking weed too harsh on you? Well, then eat these edibles.
yeah,
And people who don't understand edibles really need to be able to do their research on that one because
You'll
smoke.
get hit hard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And for a very long time. And if you don't know how to counteract that, that's a horrible ride for somebody who is not understanding it.
Which we're finding 90% of cannabis users don't know how to counterbalance their high.
Yeah,
They're
most
like,
of them
oh,
don't.
you just have to buckle up and you're in for the ride. And it's like,
No.
have you ever heard of like CBD?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of like
High-potency
drinking lemon
CBD,
juice
yeah.
or trying peppercorns or anything else
We've tried them
that
all.
can bring down your
All they do
high?
is sit in the couch and their head shaking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why experience that? You can change that experience and make it better.
education, right? We got to educate
It
them
is.
That's
and,
what it
and,
is.
And bring them in a lot slower, with
Mhm.
something a little mellower,
Go
this
low
or
and go
D8
slow.
or just go slow, take it easy,
Well, and that's what I really like about what you guys have created. But more than that, I really like what you guys are doing on the regulation side of being able to not necessarily look, we're in a world where there's no regulations pretty much. So what's the best way to be able to beat that? Have higher standards, have higher
Raise that
standards of
bar.
productivity,
Yeah.
higher standards of product, not productivity, of being able to create a better product.
right? Across the board.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when it does go legal nationwide, it'll be better products across the board.
Yeah.
And so, these guys that want to build facilities or want to get in the industry, hopefully they'll build to a better standard because the technology's here. We can do it.
Yeah.
We can do it right now. We could go in any building in the city and build you a end-to-end automated line to make whichever product you want.
Yeah.
But you got to build it at that high standard. You don't have to spend $100 million like half of these guys do
You
because
hear
you're
that,
going to go out
guys?
of business. You're
Yeah.
going
Yeah.
to lose your shirt. Spend $5 million on somebody that knows what they're doing. And if not us, somebody else. There are great engineers out there that know how to build these systems. It's just we all kind of got trapped into, oh, it's cannabis, so it's got to be expensive, or it's a German-made machine, so it's worth 4 times the amount of money. No,
Yeah, like it's not BMW.
ridiculous.
It just yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of ties back into the CBD plan that Mark mentioned. We're trying to make it really just comes down to that quality control because Coca-Cola, for example, they go to the sugar farms and they train their farmers on how to make their product. They're not
yeah.
paying them. It's their own cost, but they know that quality goes into their product and it's very important.
We actually don't want to build the facility for ourselves. We will if nobody else does. We want someone to step up and build a facility. The amazing thing is the pricing too. Like CBD, what was it, $8,000, and now it went to $175 and back and forth. And you go build $150 million plant, you will never break even at $200 a key.
The business model worked when it was $10,000 a key.
But guess what? If you use the same equipment from other industries and you build an automated system, you can make a very healthy profit margin at $200. Very healthy, a very successful business, and have consistent product all the way through. And the grows are the same way. That hydroponic facility in Arizona was amazing, and the cost was a fifth of what these guys are building it for because, they go buy grow lights from.
Yeah.
Gotta get the best.
It's
Yep.
ridiculous.
And you're like, you can get these same, like basically almost the exact same lumens and the same
20
quality.
cents on the dollar.
Yeah. And you're like, why pay that?
Yeah.
Why are you spending 5-10 times as much
Yeah.
to start your business when it's not needed?
Right. and then that hurts
Yeah.
the rest of the
Your
industry.
overhead, your margins, everything, and everyone else is like, "Oh shit, well we got to be in the same market."
And the
Yep.
biggest part there that we've seen, and it's really why the industry is the state it is now, all this low quality, crappy D8, all this kind of stuff, is because you don't have money left over after that to maintain quality. So you
Things
shuttle all
slip.
the money there, and the consumer gets shunted away. Good luck to them.
Well, and
It's
that's why we
pathetic.
have such inconsistency of brands. I mean, that's what companies want. When you bring up Coca-Cola, like, I was thinking about McDonald's. McDonald's actually puts so much into, they only buy russet potatoes
Mhm.
from Idaho, and they have to be a certain length. And if they have any blemishes, they're completely just jettisoned,
Yep.
even though they're good potatoes. Like, nope, high quality, high standard.
Yep.
There has to be a consistency, which is hilarious. The McDonald's is going to have such a high quality and high standard for a consistency of a French fry that is cooked to perfection for you.
And sold less than $1.
Yeah.
Yep. But it's the same
Yeah.
French fry here as it is in India, as it is in Antarctica.
And,
Doesn't
and
matter.
Which is
Yeah.
CBD,
Because I will
THC,
say my
everyone.
French fries from McDonald's in London tasted like cabbage.
Hmm.
What?
That's just
Well,
how
it is
fuck.
That
British.
could have been what you
Exactly.
smoked before you went in
I
there.
didn't smoke anything at that age. I was at an age that I didn't partake of anything. So
It was that was that impact, but it goes back to the cannabis industry. If you have that same type of consistency for your products, you will have that same consistency of consumers. They're going to keep coming back to you. Now you're being able to lower your cost per unit over time
Right.
by being able to have the right systems in place, like you guys are able to help provide, then also giving them the right guidance on products that they can buy. Just, it doesn't have to be name brand. It can be the brands that are actually going to last the best based upon what you guys have experienced. There's just a consistency. You're going to build a long-term market. When we look at it, how many $1 billion are they estimating the cannabis industry by 2030?
CBD is 29.5, I think, and that's CBD.
Just
not
CBD.
Just
cannabis.
CBD.
$29.5 billion.
Imagine that right now. I'm calling out to those manufacturers of any type of cannabis brand. What if you had that same consistency for your products? What if you were able to develop that one? What are you going to do for that? Because for me, like, this is one of my favorite ones. It was a long time ago, and I was talking to my wife, and she says, Advil's better than the Kirkland brand of ibuprofen. And I was like, no, they're the exact same thing. She goes, no, I swear by it. And so that goes back to it. I'm a marketing individual. I'm always thinking about that. What is going to convince the consumer? Well, the consumer convinces the consumer. So if they believe it's the best product, it will always be the best product. We have cart brands that we absolutely love. And we're like, never, ever do they give us an inconsistent feel. Awesome. I will, if anything else, I will buy that cart.
Right.
Is it more expensive? That's fine.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm going to get from that. I wish
trust
that
it,
that was
yeah.
the exact same way. And, if you're listening to this or you're watching this, you need to go check out Wendy Jane. We'll have the link down there below.
Yeah.
And you guys need to go not just check this out, buy it. Help out with
they're
those.
delicious.
They are
And
amazing.
honestly, I think it's worth checking out. If you want to function or you're stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, whatever, like, these things would be great.
Oh, they're dope.
Or even if you're at work, like, this is so clear-headed and just relax, like, takes that edge off. You could still get everything done.
I think the only negative part was when I was playing a video game, I just didn't want to play it anymore. I was like, dude, I'm just
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
just gonna go
they
do something
say
else.
Weed makes you lazy.
Yeah, or you got to do a little better at the video game. Right?
It was just
One of those two.
I just felt really happy on it. Like, my wife's like, hey, you want to go shopping? I mean, I know it sounds stupid. It's like, no, it sounds like a great date. Let's go. She's like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I eat one of these. She goes, you just eat half? And I'm like, no, I just popped the whole thing. And she goes, oh, you're a little sensitive to that.
As
So
a
she has
man that wants to go shopping, that is a whole new level of
Food
that
shopping,
is
I
like
mean.
the best.
Oh,
That's the best recommendation we've ever got.
yeah, because
Yeah,
my wife,
right?
she knows I don't like going.
Oh,
but
I hate shopping.
I absolutely hate, but I was just like, yeah. She's like, what do you think about this? I'm like, we haven't tried that before. Let's try that out. Let's try that out. She goes, I like you on this. I'm like, oh yeah. But it's just a really consistent, and I've done it twice, and I felt great on it both times. And if I wanted the ride to be over, I just took a large dose of CBD, high quality CBD, and within about 10, 15 minutes, I felt a little less, and I was like, cool. But it didn't go away completely. It's
a
just
little less
nice,
relaxed.
No, just for me, what happened is that it started to get more and more, and I was like literally too relaxed. And for me, I don't like being too relaxed because
Oh, I do.
I'm an edgy guy.
Oh,
And I'm always constantly like, I need that edge. But if I'm at home, if I'm chilling, this is great on a movie, especially if you don't want to watch a movie with the family because you're just like, I don't want to do that. Hey, go eat one of these and you're going to feel great. Because
Or-
it did.
A lot of people say that sleeping, like Wendy,
That was my wife. My wife.
You know, Wendy
Yep.
takes one every night and she sleeps. I can turn on the TV, I can turn on the radio, I can play a video game. She's out all night long. She loves it. And, you know, we never make claims like take it for sleep or anything like that. We say,
Yeah.
give it a try. See what it does for you. Take a small dose, take it a little more.
Yeah.
You know, ease yourself into this thing and give
well,
it
I
a
started
try.
2 different times of 20 milligrams before I jumped to 60. So
Yeah.
Well, and the great thing, what we learned today, if you're going on a tea break, this is a great product to be able to try out.
yeah,
That's
Or
fantastic.
if you want to get off alcohol or opioids,
that's true.
it's a great way to do it. And, you know,
Yeah, I helped a
much
family
cleaner,
member with that.
much cleaner.
So if you're
So-
trying to quit, you know, maybe check
Yeah.
out some of these.
This is
Or
too
just
many-
looking
Jane
for
gummies.
something lighter. I wouldn't quite say it's weed light because that's Delta 8, right? You get
Yeah,
a
yeah,
high
yeah.
from that.
No,
Just
this
something
is
a bit more, a
just
bit
mellow.
different. Yeah, mellow is a
Yeah.
good
It's
word.
very mellow. It's not too intense. It doesn't get to that point where it's too intense. Yeah, if you ate the whole bag, I mean, one, you hit yourself with a hammer because you're an idiot.
Yeah.
Like I don't understand people doing that. Like, these are delicious.
what? I would have eaten the whole bag.
You can eat the whole bag, but I'm saying, you know, it's just typical with new
I
cannabis
just
consumers.
didn't know how the
We'll get you the
cannabinoid
bigger
hit me. So
25 milligram ones, and then you can take the whole bag.
if
Yeah,
I
you
had
get some.
known what the experience was like and that, I would have taken all 100
Yeah.
milligrams. But
Right.
because I'm not familiar with the compound, your products,
Right.
or anything, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to start with 20 and see
Yeah.
how it
And that's the
feels.
best way to do it. I mean, that's kind of what we tell people too. If you're a brand new user, take half a gummy. Chances
yeah.
are you won't feel it, but that's fine. Just do it again tomorrow. And
Exactly.
take one.
It's like it's so much better for you to not feel it
Mhm.
than it is for you to go, man, it was way too much.
Yep.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, well, I didn't feel that. So now I can take a little bit more next time.
And that goes back to what you mentioned earlier, where a lot of people think edibles is the best way to start. Really, it's
Yeah.
vaping or dabbing or something, because you
Mhm.
can, maybe not dabbing, but you can control the dosage. You can have
Mhm.
0.1 gram, like 0.1 micrograms at a time.
Yeah.
It's much more maintainable, I would say, and you can kind of wait.
And
go
the
back in, go
experience
back
comes
out.
down faster than it does
Exactly.
with edibles. So, you know, you're not in it for 3 to 8 hours. You're in it for 30 minutes to 2 hours, depending
But your
on...
grandma's scared of that, right? Your
Right.
grama
No.
or my dad is
She
scared to death of
was.
smoking, right?
She won't.
So-
Yeah, my grandma won't smoke. So I'm from
My
Utah.
dad
We're
won't.
like
Yeah.
5th generation religious people from here.
Right.
And so, of course, it's very taboo.
Right.
My parents, they won't ever smoke. They won't do any of that. But I now have gotten both my mom, my dad, my grandma to take cannabinoids
Huh.
in edibles or tinctures or something like that
Right.
for pain. Chronic
Right.
pain's been the only thing that's been their thing for that because they don't take medicine for anything.
It sucks to get old too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You get,
Yeah, it
you
does.
get those pains and a little bit of relief.
Well,
goes
you
a
don't want to
long way.
admit it either. Once you look in the
Yeah.
mirror and you're like, "That's a lot of gray." Shit.
Yeah, we're
But
all
it-
getting there.
No, I agree. I always tell people, especially within the common faith in here in Utah. I mean, I'm involved in that one, and I actually get more people converted over there. They're like, "Oh, I'm gonna try an edible." I'm like, "No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, you're not. You're gonna go buy
Yeah.
a half-gram cart, and you're gonna meet up with me, and we'll go through this, and you're gonna get over this feel that
Yeah.
you're doing something wrong because it doesn't say Marlboro on the end of that, and
Right.
so." You know, I was a former smoker for years, especially in the military. Military goes hand in hand,
Yeah.
right? Is this like, especially during, you know, different times. You served in the military during the 80s, and I served it in the late 90s. It was so common. I don't know what it's like now. It's probably just all vape pens.
Yeah.
And
I wish
and-
we would have had these because I was in school and I mean, packs and packs a day. If you got them, smoke them. And they passed a law. I think Clinton passed the law that they eliminated it in training. And they came down the barracks and dragging trash cans. Everybody had to throw their cartons of cigarettes in. Holy
Oh,
cow, that
dear.
was a rough 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Because you got 100 guys that all of a sudden stopped smoking.
all
It
Jones.
would have been great to have anything in there to give them some relief.
it would have probably done me better. I remember
Yeah.
after boot camp, I mean, you couldn't have any smokes. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden we get over there to A school over there in Great Lakes, Michigan, or Great Mistakes, Michigan, if you guys know what I'm talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And I got a pack, and the first hit, I was like spinning and felt sick. And I'm like, I should stop doing this. And the other guy goes, don't be a pussy. Get another one. Right. So it's like, it's so weird, but it because of those negative connotations from smoking cigarettes for so long that people are like, I'm very adverse to it. That's bad.
Yeah.
Nancy Reagan's in their head. Don't use it. They just say no. But it's so much better. But again, using something like this, extremely mild, helps you to feel that one. And that's just a great game. But there's just so many different ways to look at any type of cannabis product, especially this. Keep it into your like little pharmacy cabinet that you have. Like I have my bag where I know everything is that's for headaches, that's for nausea, that's for energy, that's for sleep.
Yeah.
Right. So
That's
it
for a
helps.
little bit of fun.
Yeah, exactly. Right. This is for me to chill out. This is right there at the bottom of it by going, look, I've got stuff to do today, but I've got pain, or I'm just not feeling amazing right now. I need a little bit of an edge off. This would be a fantastic product for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely recommend it.
And if your guys need help on the other side, we're always available to help. We love helping people. We talk to anybody.
I mean, it's an education game. That's all this whole thing we're doing is, because these things have always been around, but nobody knows what they are. And now we got to tell people they're available, they're safe, they're something you can use to deal with the issues that you're having every single day, and you didn't even know it was there.
Yeah.
And you just have to trust that what it is safe. And I'm not saying trust anyone. You got to find someone trustworthy and then go forward.
And keep building the science so we have that data so we can reach your dream of
I think that would be amazing, but it's sky dreams. That's where I want it to get.
That's pretty cool, though. You step into a booth and they go, okay, and you come out of it and they've got a cart and a gummy made for you.
Gas the booth and you walk out nice and toasted.
I
like that.
I'd be down with that.
I could make you that.
That would be so cool. Yeah. Okay, well, so check out the show notes. You want to be able to get in touch with these guys to be able to help out your facility. Fantastic. Go over there. Check them out. Well worth it. Second part.
Check out these
buy the
Wendy
edibles.
Janes. Yeah.
We'll have the link
Definitely
over there.
worth
Go
it.
there, buy them, check them out. Especially for those family members who are just a little bit more skittish about trying it, but they're like, hey, you seem like you're having a good time.
Actually, if you're super anxious, this is probably the best thing for you.
Yeah.
I would check it out because you don't get the anxiety that can come from an edible. This is like none in your head, so you're very clear. You don't have.
I can kind of tell, like you can feel it a little bit.
I also puffed on. He had that Delta 8, Delta 9 pen, and that one puff. I mean, it's not a puff. It's much
yeah,
bigger
you had it
than
in the
that.
Zenko, yeah, definitely.
But that, like, I can already feel the difference in it. I was like, oh man, that's really
well,
interesting.
the combination. So
clean, consistent products.
So clean.
Make great products.
Yeah,
right? So
because
we
I
gotta
am.
get it
I've
there.
been a hard no on Delta 8 since.
since we tried
the
it.
last because the last ones we went to the last cannabis event here in Utah a year and a half ago, something like that, and there was a bunch of companies giving samples and stuff. Tried a bunch of them, and I'm like, yeah, no, I don't like this at all.
Yeah.
This is a horrible experience. I don't think I would recommend this to someone.
Just felt it.
And then all these other people are like, oh, I love it. And I'm like, that might be your jam. It is not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Needs to be clean and consistent, no
Yeah.
matter what it is. Right.
But,
Clean and consistent. All right. Well, you guys heard it here.
Yeah.
Check it out, and we'll see you guys next week.
Awesome.